Hey Divine Ones, it's Latoya O'Keel. I'm sneaking this video in with y'all real quick. I'm headed to go and have lunch with some of my divine sisters, and I just wanted to sneak this little message in with y'all right quick. This for my ladies. This is for my queens. Listen, have some business about yourself. That's what the Holy Spirit just was dealing with me about. As women, we need to understand and we need to learn how to have some business about ourselves. Like, have a purpose, have something that you can be doing. Because this is what I was just sitting here thinking as I'm headed down here to this restaurant. One thing that I admire about men, and this is for men across the board. This is men, this is grown boys, this is these men y'all call immature, this is these men y'all call toxic, and everything under the sun. One thing that I know about these men, and one thing that I truly admire about these men, a man gonna have some business about himself. A man ain't finna be sitting around all day with his head in the clouds, fantasizing about a woman, lost in love with a woman, falling so madly in love with a woman. Because when that man get off the phone with you, that man ain't think about you. That man done went on by his business. That man somewhere with his head up under the hood of a car, or he got what they call a joystick in his hand playing a game. He playing Madden, he playing 2K. He's somewhere with his homeboys. He went to go visit somebody in his family. That man done went on by his business. But then what do we do as women? When we get off the phone with that man, you sitting up there fantasizing. You sitting up there planning the wedding out in your head. You telling your mom about him. You telling your cousin about him. You want to bring him to the barbecue. You want to bring him to the family reunion. And see, that's because you don't have any business about yourself. You're not in your purpose. See, when you get off the phone with that man, you ought to be going on about your business. You should not be sitting there thinking about him. You need to get up after you get off that phone with him, or after you part ways from him, y'all leave off a date or leave from in the presence of each other. You need to go right on into your calendar. You ought to be going right on into your calendar. You ought to be meeting up. You ought to have friends. You ought to be in contact with your family members. Stop getting in relationships with men and then you forget all about your family members. You don't want to talk to your mama no more. You don't want to talk to your cousin no more. You don't want to talk to your sister. Now, I ain't talking about no toxic family members, but I'm talking about the family members that, you know, they deserve to be in your life. They got some sense about themselves. But we got to learn as women how to have a life outside of a man. You got to have a life outside of a man. It's nothing wrong with having a man and loving a man. It's nothing wrong with that. But what do you have outside of that man? If that man take a crazy pill and he want to go rogue and he want to go to acting crazy, then you're going to be in a mess because you done built your whole life around this man. See, people are not permanent. People are not permanent. I think I see one of my sisters right here. People are not permanent. People are temporary. People are temporary. The only thing that's permanent is your purpose. The only thing that's permanent is your purpose. So you got to be in purpose. You got to be in your purpose. And have a life outside of a man. Have a life outside of him. You know what? You ought to be in all kind of activities. You ought to have a business, a home-based business. This is the season where everybody should have a home-based business, okay? You ought to have a home-based business. You ought to have you ought to be started up some type of membership or mentorship or something you ought to be on YouTube. Y'all watch the video I was talking about why you should bring your gift to YouTube. You ought to be on YouTube. You ought to be strategizing for the next season of your life. When you're on the phone with that man or when you texting that man, okay, that's fine. If you have the time, you do that. You text him, you talk to him. You know, y'all do whatever. Y'all do that, what y'all doing. But then when you finish with that, you don't need to be sitting there thinking about that man. You need to be on about your business. And he'll just have to catch up with you the next time he can catch up with you. Because when he see that you got a schedule, he see you busy, he see you about your father's business, he know, oh, okay, I got to get my stuff together. If I want to be in this woman's life, if he wants you, he gonna get his stuff together. If he don't, he gonna make up some type of excuse and say, oh, you too busy for me. You ain't got time for me. So, but if he wants you, he gonna get in your schedule. He'll make a way to fit into your schedule, and he's gonna respect the fact that you have a schedule. Because a man want a woman that's about her business. A real kingdom man, he want a woman that she ain't trying to build her whole life around him. She know how to love him and speak life into him, but she also got work she got to do. A man gonna respect that. And then that make you so much more interesting for that man, because you have things that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You have interests, you have hobbies, you have a life. You have a purpose. So that makes you more interesting to him. That makes you able to stimulate him mentally. Not just physically, but you can stimulate him mentally, because you have a purpose, you have a mind. You know how to think. You have a life. So have a life outside of a man. This is for my queens, because men do it. I'm telling y'all right here, right now, a man gonna have him a life outside of you. You think when that man get off the phone with you, when he part ways from you, that man sitting around and think about you? You sitting around and think about him. That man done went on about his business. He done went on about his business. He got his head up under the hood of a car, because these men, they love these car projects now. A lot of them, they love these car projects. So he looking at his next part where he finna buy on his car. He all on, you know, the parts website and trying to, you know, go see who he can find a car part from, or just doing whatever. Just doing whatever. Or going to go see his grandma that he ain't seen in a long time. You the one sitting up there not going to see nobody because you so in love. But he in touch with his family. He got friends. He got a life. And then you sitting there twiddling your thumbs to my, he don't never call me. He don't never text me. You got too much time on your hands. You need to get up and you need to have a life outside of that man. I'm telling y'all some real stuff. Okay? So have friends. Ain't nothing wrong with having friends. Ain't nothing wrong with going out to lunch. That's why I felt led to do this video, because that's what me and some of my divine sisters are doing today. We just meeting up for lunch. We just meeting up for lunch. So have things on your schedule. Interact with people. Have relationships outside of that relationship with that man. Have friendships outside of your friendship with that man. See, a lot of times women get in a relationship with a man and they mad at the world. They mad at everybody else. They ain't got nothing to say to nobody else. Only thing they want is they man. You better learn how to have something outside of that man, because if not, you're going to wear him out. That man going to get tired. That's why he tired of having to tell you. He got to tell you he love you every 20 minutes because you don't love yourself. I'm talking to somebody, because that used to be me. He got to validate you every 20 minutes because you don't have self-validation. That's because you don't have a life outside of him. You don't know who you are. You don't know that you're a queen, and you don't know your purpose. You got to find your purpose. If you don't, click the link in the description and book a purpose coaching session with me today, so we can get you in your purpose and come up with a plan so you can have a life outside of this man. Because it's okay to love a man, but what you gonna do when you're not around him? What you gonna do? So that's why a lot of the men are physically drained, because they having to carry some of these women that ain't got their purpose, that don't know who they are. These women don't have a vision. I'm on the women today, because I usually be talking about the men don't have a vision, but it's a lot of women walking around here ain't got no vision neither. And you draining this man. This man was not built to carry you. You got to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet, queen. Know how to love this man, but also love yourself. Have a life outside of a man. I love y'all so much. I'm finna go eat my steak. And y'all be blessed.